Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be making a blueberry square cake. Let me show you how to make it really quickly. Mix everything together, pop it into the oven, and before you know it, you've got a really tasty dessert that you can bring to some kind of evening out, or even serve to a crowd, or just for some home baked goods. So let me show you how I make it. The first thing I'm going to do is take out my sour cream and buttermilk to let that come to room temperature kind of. Preheat my oven, and I always make sure I don't leave anything in there. And then I'm going to line a square pan 9 by 9 inches with some parchment paper and some oil, because I really don't want these squares to stick. I want them to be able to come out quickly. Now if you don't want to use oil, you could also use butter. Alright, now this cake is in, is it 3 layers? 2 layers. We've got a cake layer, we've got a vanilla crumble on top, and so for both of those I'm going to require half a cup of butter melted. So I've got 2 bowls here, and I'm just going to divide my butter in half and heat it up quickly so that I have the melted butter ready to mix in with the rest of the ingredients ready to go. Now I'm going to use my volume scale to measure everything. I don't know if you've ever used a volume scale before, but it's so much easier just to add things to a bowl instead of having to measure everything out with measuring cups or measuring spoons, but you can use whatever. I find a volume scale works really quickly. So I'm going to start with the crumble top, just because that's the quickest one to get ready. And I'm going to combine the flour and the sugar in here with some vanilla. I'm just going to whisk this flour and sugar together before I add my vanilla and butter, just to give that a good mix so long. Until it looks something like this. It's all well combined. I don't see any more flour. There we go. Knock it out, put this aside for later. Now let's get going with the main deal. So I'm going to start with a smaller bowl and then reserve my bigger bowl for later, because I'm going to add the floury stuff to the bigger bowl of liquids later on. So start with a smaller bowl So I'd say the vanilla top I did in my smallest bowl. Now I'm doing my medium, and then I'll do my large bowl. So for the actual cake portion, I'm going to do flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, sugar in this medium bowl. Alright, now I'm slowly going to start adding the flour mixture and whisking it in here until it's all well combined. Consistency in the end is something kind of sloppy that will pour well. But before I add the blueberries into here, I want to coat them in flour. So let's get the blueberries measured in this bowl. Just how much we need. Fresh blueberries are always best, but if you don't have any, I'm using some frozen from a former year. And I don't know what I was thinking. This bowl is not going to be big enough. Let's try that again. Alright, now I'm going to reserve a little bit of this in this bowl here. This will be for my toppings. Maybe we'll do a little bit more. Something like that. And then to this, I'm going to add a little bit of flour. Now coating the blueberries in flour here will help them not all droop down to the bottom. So that is what we are trying to accomplish, because then only some people will have blueberries at the bottom of their squares instead of having them just sort of nicely, evenly distributed throughout the cake. Oops. Blueberry down, blueberry down. I don't even know where it went. As I like to do often, I doubled this recipe so that I can make extra to freeze. Now that this baby is on the way, it'd be nice to have some frozen treats. I'm gonna layer with a layer of fresh blueberries right on top. Into the oven, they go for an hour. Yum! this one is ready. Now, of course, if you're going to serve this professionally or to someone at like an event or something, you want to let this just cool and sit for a little while first, but this is just going to be enjoyed by family, so I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick peek. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me while I cook this delicious blueberry dessert, and I hope you've also learned now how easy it is to make it. And if you are craving some blueberries and something cakey, you can slap this together really quickly and let it bake in the oven for an hour. So I hope that's been helpful to you. You can usually find me here in the kitchen, either baking or cooking something, or out in our garden growing some of our own food, or preparing for some kind of adventure or travel trip somewhere. So if that's interesting to you, would you consider sticking around, subscribing to this channel, and then you can catch some of my upcoming content. Alright, see ya, bye.